They told you no one had ever made them feel this way. 3 days in, the messages came in waves. Paragraphs about your soul, your eyes, the way you think. It felt like being seen through a telescope that magnified every hidden virtue you'd carried in silence. They mirrored your wounds back to you as poetry. They spoke your secret language on the first date. And you felt it, that intoxicating cocktail of validation and vertigo. Finally, someone who gets it. Someone who loves at your intensity. Someone who doesn't make you feel too much. But here's the architecture you couldn't see. This wasn't a beginning. It was a siege. Every compliment was a calculated detonation. Every future promise, a tripwire. Every "I've never felt this before" was a brick in a prison you were building around yourself. One dopamine hit at a time. You weren't falling in love. You were being possessed. The pattern reveals itself in 3 movements. First, the flood. Love at tsunami force. Attention that feels like worship. They don't just like you. They need you. You become the center of a universe that spins faster every day. Then, the withdrawal. Suddenly, silence. The texts slow. The plans evaporate. You feel the absence like a severed limb, and you scramble. You reach. You apologize for crimes you didn't commit. Finally, the return. They come back, and the relief is so overwhelming you forget to ask where they went. You're just grateful the pain has stopped. And in that gratitude, you become manageable. This is not love. This is weaponized attachment. Here is the truth they don't want you to see. Love bombing is not about affection. It is about control through addiction. It is the systematic exploitation of your hunger to be seen, achieved by flooding you with a synthetic version of intimacy so potent, so overwhelming, that when it is withdrawn, you will do anything to get it back. You become a laboratory animal pressing a lever, and they hold the reward schedule. Carl Jung understood this machinery from the inside out. He wrote, "The meeting of 2 personalities is like the contact of 2 chemical substances. If there is any reaction, both are transformed." But he also warned, some reactions are not alchemy. Some are poison disguised as magic. And the love bomber is not offering transformation. They are offering possession. Jung knew that the shadow, that dark twin we all carry, does not simply hide in corners. It projects. It finds a stage. And when someone love bombs you, what you are witnessing is not their love for you. You are witnessing their shadow's desperate attempt to colonize your psyche, to fill the void inside themselves by devouring your sense of self. In the next 20 minutes, you will learn to see this machinery with surgical precision. You will understand the 4-stage cycle they run on autopilot. You will recognize the exact psychological hooks they deploy and why they work. And most importantly, you will learn the Jungian antidote, how to stay sovereign in your own soul, how to distinguish real intimacy from its counterfeit, and how to defuse the bomb before it detonates your life. This is not a guide to fixing them. This is a guide to freeing yourself. It begins with a mirror, but not a real one, a magic mirror, one that reflects back to you a version of yourself you've always hoped existed but never quite believed in. The love bomber doesn't just compliment you, they mythologize you. You mention you like poetry. 3 hours later, they've sent you Neruda with a voice note. This reminded me of your soul. You tell them about a childhood dream. They don't just remember it, they make it the cornerstone of your shared future. You laugh at something obscure. They call it proof that you're meant to be. This is phase 1 of the playbook, idealization. And it works because it targets something Jung called the hunger for the self. Deep in your psyche, beneath all the masks you wear, is the archetype of your wholeness. The person you could be if every wound healed, if every gift was seen. The love bomber offers you a shortcut to that vision. They hand it to you fully formed in the first week. But here's the trap. They are not seeing you. They are projecting their anima or animus, those internal images of the ideal lover, onto your frame. You are a blank screen for their unconscious fantasy. And the love they pour out is not love for your reality. It is worship of their own projection. Jung wrote about this. Projections change the world into the replica of one's own unknown face. The love bomber looks at you and sees the savior they need, the flawless other who will finally make them whole. And in that gaze, you feel extraordinary. But what you are feeling is not being loved. It is being used as a vessel for someone else's inner drama. The warning signs are always there. The speed. Real intimacy takes time. It requires seeing someone across seasons, in conflict, in boredom, in failure. But the love bomber accelerates everything. I love you in week 1. Plans to move in by month 2. Marriage talk before you've had a real fight. They are not building intimacy. They are manufacturing intensity to bypass your defenses. The mirroring. They love everything you love. They hate everything you hate. Their taste in music shifts to match yours. Their values suddenly align perfectly. This is not compatibility. This is camouflage. They are becoming your psychological twin so you cannot see them clearly. The future faking. They paint vivid pictures of the life you will build together. The house, the trips, the version of you that will finally be happy. But these promises are smoke. They are designed to create emotional debt. You start investing in a future that exists only in their words. And here is the cruelest part. It feels good. That is the genius of the trap. The flood of attention triggers your reward systems. Dopamine, oxytocin, the neurochemistry of bonding, but on fast forward. Your brain starts associating this person with survival level need. They become your drug. And when the supply is cut off, you will go into withdrawal. Jung would say you are not in love. You are in a state of psychological inflation. The ego swells. You feel chosen, special. And in that inflation, you lose the ability to see danger. Because how could something that feels this good be harmful? Then comes the shift. And it is never announced. One day, the texts that used to arrive like clockwork simply stop. The plans that were set in stone dissolve. The person who called you their soulmate now takes hours to reply with one-word answers. And when you ask what changed, they look at you like you are being unreasonable. I'm just busy. You're being too needy. I need space. This is phase 2, devaluation. And it is not random. It is architecture. Jung understood that the shadow does not stay hidden forever. The idealized projection, that perfect image they painted onto you, begins to crack. Not because you changed, but because no human can sustain being a god. You were never the person they saw. You were a canvas for their fantasy. And now, the real you begins to show through. Your needs, your boundaries, your separateness. and the love bomber recoils. But here is the mechanism you must see. The devaluation is not a departure. It is a tightening of the chain. By withdrawing the flood of affection you have become addicted to, they create a desperate hunger in you. You begin to audit your behavior. What did I do wrong? How do I get them back? You start performing, shrinking, apologizing. This is the goal. The idealization was the hook. The devaluation is the control. Jung wrote about this in terms of the shadow's projection cycle. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. But the love bomber has not reached that understanding. Their irritation with you, their sudden coldness, is not about you. It is about their terror of intimacy. The moment you became real, you became dangerous. Because real intimacy requires them to face their own emptiness, and they cannot. So they create distance, but not by leaving, by making you chase. The signs of this phase. Intermittent reinforcement. Sometimes they are present, sometimes they disappear. The unpredictability keeps you hooked. Your brain, desperate for the pattern to make sense, stays vigilant. You become hyper-aware of their moods, their schedules, their slightest shifts in tone. You are no longer living your life. You are orbiting theirs. Gaslighting the past. They rewrite history. Those promises, you misunderstood. That intensity, you imagined it. The love they showered you with is now reframed as your neediness. They make you doubt your own perception. This is not confusion. This is disorientation as strategy. Blame projection. Suddenly, everything wrong in the relationship is your fault. You are too sensitive, too demanding, too much. They position themselves as the victim of your expectations. And if you are not careful, you will accept this narrative. You will internalize their shadow and carry it as your own. Jung would call this shadow infection. The parts of themselves they cannot face, the emptiness, the cruelty, the fear, they deposit into you. And you, desperate to restore the connection, accept the deposit. You become the container for their disowned darkness. And here is the trap's cruelest efficiency. The more they withdraw, the more valuable they become. Scarcity creates obsession. You are no longer evaluating whether this relationship is good for you. You are simply trying to survive the withdrawal. Then, one of two things happens. Either they leave entirely, vanishing with a cruelty so sudden it feels like psychological amputation, or they return, and the relief is so overwhelming that you forgive without question. You take them back before they even apologize. This is phase 3 and 4, discard and hoover, and both are instruments of the same outcome, ensuring you remain available. The discard, when it comes, is designed to maximize your pain. They do not end things with care. They ghost. They move on publicly, flaunting a new relationship while you are still reeling. They leave you with questions that will haunt you for months. What did I do wrong? Was any of it real? Jung understood this as the activation of the wound archetype. Every human carries an original injury, usually from childhood, a moment when love was withdrawn, when you were abandoned, when you learned that you are not enough. The love bomber, consciously or not, locates that wound and detonates it. When they discard you, it is not just a breakup. It is a confirmation of your deepest fear, that you are unlovable, that when people see the real you, they leave. But here is the pattern within the pattern. The discard is often not permanent. It is a test. Will you stay available? Will you beg? Will you remain in their orbit, even in absence? And if you do, if you keep reaching, keep hoping, they will sense it. And one day, when they are bored, when their new supply has run dry, they will hoover you back in. The hoover is named after the vacuum. It is the sudden reappearance with apologies, with explanations, with the exact words you have been desperate to hear. I made a mistake. I miss you. You were the only one who really understood me. And the relief is narcotic. The pain stops. The questions are answered, and you think, maybe this time will be different. Maybe they have changed. Maybe the love I felt at the beginning was real, and this is the return to truth. But it is not. The hoover is not reconciliation. It is phase 1 of the next cycle. The idealization will return, but shorter. The devaluation will come faster. Each rotation of the wheel makes you more dependent, more confused, more willing to accept less. Jung warned about this in his writings on psychological possession. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. The love bomber operates from their unconscious. They do not plan this cycle. They enact it compulsively, because it is the only way they know how to manage their internal void. And if you do not become conscious of the pattern, you will remain trapped in it, calling it love when it is actually repetition, compulsion. So how do you diffuse it? Not by trying to fix them, not by understanding them better, not by loving them harder. You diffuse the bomb by withdrawing your projection. Jung's entire therapeutic method rested on a single, brutal truth. You cannot heal what you cannot see. And the reason love bombing works is because you are not seeing the other person. You are seeing your own hunger, your own wounds, your own desperation for the self reflected back. The love bomber offers you a shortcut to wholeness, but wholeness cannot be given. It can only be earned through individuation, through the painful process of integrating your shadow, owning your wounds, and becoming sovereign in your own soul. Here is the first step. Name the pattern. Write it down. Idealization, devaluation, discard, hoover. See it as a machine, not a relationship. The moment you recognize the structure, the spell weakens. You are no longer a participant in a romance. You are an observer of a tactical loop. Second step. Withdraw the fantasy. The version of them you fell in love with does not exist. It never did. That person was a projection, a combination of your hopes and their performance. The real person behind the mask is someone who cannot sustain intimacy, who cycles through people like a predator through prey. Grieve the fantasy, bury it, but do not confuse it with reality. Third step. Reclaim the mirror. Everything you saw in them that felt extraordinary, the depth, the passion, the understanding, was actually yours. They reflected it back to you, but they did not create it. You are capable of that intensity, that insight, that love, but you must direct it inward first. Jung called this the process of individuation, becoming whole by integrating the parts of yourself you have projected onto others. Fourth step. Recognize the void. The love bomber operates from a place of profound inner emptiness. They are not evil. They are fragmented. But their fragmentation is not your responsibility. You cannot fill another person's void. You can only guard your own wholeness. And finally, establish the boundary, not with anger, not with explanation, with silence. The love bomber feeds on reaction. Your pain, your anger, your hope, it is all supply. The only move that breaks the cycle is absence. No contact, no closure, no final conversation. You do not owe them an exit interview. You owe yourself freedom. Jung wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But you cannot become yourself while you are possessed by another's projections. You cannot individuate while you are dancing to someone else's pathology. The antidote is not in them, it is in you, in your willingness to see clearly, to grieve honestly, and to choose sovereignty over the addiction to their attention." Here is what you must remember. The love bomber did not see you. They saw a reflection of their need, and the love you felt was not for the person they are, it was for the fantasy they performed. Real love is not a flood, it is not a siege, it is steady. It is built over time, through conflict and repair, through seeing each other's shadows and choosing to stay anyway. Real love does not require you to abandon your boundaries. It does not demand that you shrink, perform, or prove. The love bomber's playbook is effective because it hijacks your wiring. It floods you with the neurochemistry of attachment before your discernment can catch up. It creates addiction before intimacy. But now you see the mechanism. Now you know the structure. And knowing is the first weapon. You defuse the bomb, not by understanding them better, but by understanding yourself more deeply. By asking, what wound in me made this attractive? What part of me is so hungry to be seen that I accepted a counterfeit? What do I need to integrate so that I never mistake intensity for intimacy again? Jung believed that the psyche is self-regulating, that it sends you the experiences you need to become whole. The love bomber entered your life not to destroy you, but to show you where you are not yet sovereign. So take the lesson, reclaim your projection, and walk away from anyone who needs you to be a god. Because you are not here to be worshipped. You are here to be whole. And that work begins the moment you stop looking for your reflection in someone else's eyes.